Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this concert by the Metropolitan Wind Symphony, or the MetWinds. I'm Rick Wyman, your conductor and host. We begin this evening's concert by inviting you to rise for our national anthem. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this concert that we're calling a Sousa Spectacular. Not necessarily because we're going to play music all by Sousa, but over 100 years ago, the Sousa band would travel the world and the country, performing really distinctive and wonderful concerts. And of course, these were before the days of widespread recording. So this was the way that, especially across America, that people would have the opportunity to see wonderful music. And Sousa band concerts had a very distinctive concert format that we're going to reproduce in a lot of ways for you tonight. Those concerts usually would feature an opening virtuosic overture. Then there would usually be a virtuosic soloist, a really beautiful melody that a soloist would perform. These concerts would usually feature new, larger works, often written by Sousa, suites and operettas that he would write. He didn't just write marches. And then usually these concerts often concluded with something a little more familiar and a little bit more popular. And all of this music would often be interspersed with Sousa's hit marches of the day. So you'll hear a concert exactly like that tonight. We'll bring you back 125 years ago to a concert in the park with the John Philip Sousa Band. And we're going to continue now by opening with the Festive Overture by Dmitri Shostakovich. And I think you'll understand why we open with this. It features the virtuosity of the band very well. The Festive Overture. Well, having just celebrated Independence Day, we offer now a march by John Philip Sousa, his Hail to the Spirit of Liberty, which he wrote in 1900 for the Sousa's Band Tour of Europe, where they were presenting music at the Paris exhibition. By the way, the Europeans were very impressed with the virtuosity of these Americans, because during that time it was the European music groups that were thought of as the ones that could really play, right? So on July 4th of 1900, they unveiled a statue of Lafayette on horseback, offering his sword to the American cause in the Revolutionary War, draped in a huge American flag. And just as this statue was unveiled, the Sousa Band premiered or played for the first time this Hail to the Spirit of Liberty. So I mentioned that Sousa Band concerts often featured soloists, often members from within the band, because the band, like the MetWinds, had so many wonderful players. So we're going to play music now from Carmen, the famous opera by Bizet. This is the flower song from Carmen. You may be familiar with the opera Carmen. It's set in southern Spain and tells the story of this naive soldier named Don Jose. He's seduced by a fiery gypsy girl, Carmen. And this moment in the opera that you're about to hear, the flower song, is the start of the second act, or of the opening second half. There's a local tavern after hours. Carmen is there hanging out with her smuggler friends, She's waiting for Don Jose to arrive. He arrives and gives her back a flower that she had thrown to him in the first act when she danced for him. And he sings about how if she even just gave him a glance, that his love and life would be forever perfect. So we're going to feature now this melody played not by a vocalist, but by the beautiful sounds of the trombone. Our soloist is originally from Antioch, California. He's been now well acclimated, I think, to the Boston area. He's a graduate of Boston University. He's a software developer. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our soloist, Matt Dawson. We continue now with one of those larger works that I mentioned that Sousa wrote that people don't always necessarily know about. As I mentioned, he wrote plenty of music for operas, operettas, various suites, and this is music from his At the Movies suite, which he wrote in 1914. It's subtitled it A Suite of Scenarios for Cinematographers. And there's 3 of them that you're going to hear. He says that this suite was a effort on Sousa's part through music to elucidate the cinematographer what is usually done by the written word. So the opening piece that you'll hear is called The Serenaders. It portrays a bunch of college guys going around campus at a neighboring university trying to serenade girls. And you'll hear various groupings of instrumentations here that portray that. Sousa said that this happiness of this existence of this serenaders is duly reflected in the music, fairly bubbling over with gaiety and joyous spirit. The second movement you'll hear, he says, essays the harrowing story of the crafty villain and the timid maid. The timid maid's pleading and the crafty villain's bombast being in evidence throughout the number. The trombones play often the nasty villain or the train coming, as well as maybe I think the bassoons sometimes too are a little crafty. The third movement is called, it's a dance on the village green. The very name, Balance All and Swing Partners, tells the story. So here's the 3-movement suite from John Philip Sousa's At the Movies suite. So we're going to continue now, but we want to mention that these concerts that we provide here are free, and we invite you to help defray the cost of these concerts, which we donate each summer to the community. There'll be volunteers that'll be going around now and soon with red donation buckets that we're invited to add cash donations, or there's a QR code printed on the buckets and on the sign on this card table that we invite you to donate. We also mentioned that feedback is important to us. We invite you to fill out an audience survey form and return it to the card table. There's information there. And we also invite you to find out more about our indoor concerts that we perform during the season, during the year at the Scottish Rite Museum. There's a place on the card for you to fill out your best way to contact you. So, as I mentioned, each of these concerts are sponsored by a variety of the ways, but our official concert sponsor today has been provided by the family of our guest, Mary Cuthbertson. So we welcome her. How about a big round of applause for Mary? Hint, one of her family members plays in the band, and she said that this was Mary's Mother's Day gift, and it turned out to be a good one. I think it's a good one. So part of sponsoring one of our concerts is an invitation to conduct the band on the famous march by John Philip Sousa called the Stars and Stripes Forever. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's Stars and Stripes Forever, conducted by our sponsor and special guest, Mary Cuthbertson. Well, we thank Mary for her support and of her family. And thank you, Mary. Great job. I told Mary earlier the problem with her conducting so well is that now anytime if I'm sick or something, I'm just going to be calling her to fill in. I live about 2 hours away, Mary, so be ready, okay? Before we conclude today's concert, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for joining us. It's been our pleasure to perform for you today. We have some other thanks that we want to extend. We thank the town of Lexington for use of Hastings Park. We thank the Lexington Bicentennial Band. Jeff Leonard is the music director. These are their music stands and chairs that we're using today and their percussion equipment. They perform here, by the way, on Tuesday night, so that's an opportunity for you to catch them. We thank the Massachusetts Cultural Council and Lexington Council for the Arts for their financial support throughout the year. We also thank Watertown Savings Bank, which is the corporate sponsor for this summer's concert series. We invite you all to join us next week. We're going to perform another concert here at the same time, same place. Thursday night at 7:30. That concert will be water music, featuring music inspired and about water. And then the week later, we'll be performing here again with a concert called It's Showtime. So we hope you'll join us for these next couple weeks. We conclude now in a way that often Sousa Band concerts did, with music that is a bit more familiar to people, but another orchestral piece. This is Wagner's 1876 Ride of the Valkyries, which originally appeared in the Act 3 of his opera, The Valkyries, from his Ring cycle. The scene is a rocky mountaintop with a lot of storm-driven clouds. All of Brunhilde's Valkyrie sisters are gathered in full armor. They're ready to transport fallen heroes on their winged steeds. And then the music that evolves after that is some of the most famous music, particularly in classical history. And it's also music that has appeared in video games, movies, including the 1979 film Apocalypse Now. So we conclude tonight's concert with Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries. Thanks again for joining us.